Welcome back to CCRPG. We are picking back up just after the faux downtimes our players had in the couple of days post the meeting with Ethic. After returning from the LIT clinic, our crew debriefed, and hard to determine exactly what the best course of action next was going to be. So Ethic decided she needed some time to take in the data that you all had given her, and encouraged you all, because you had brought up some ideas during the conversation as well, to look into those, to see if any of those would lead to a viable path forward as well. The timeline was, hey, let's meet back up in 2 days and go over what we all discovered and determine what is best for our collective effort here. We saw a bunch of things happen. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. We saw a bunch of things happen.
We discovered that we were caught by Corsac.
I want to know.
We?
Actually, the we question mark is part of what I wanted to question you all on.
I don't think I know yet.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, are you... Astro / Dyne, because Dyne knows part of it. Are you going to wait until the meeting with Ethic to tell your crew members what happened, or are you doing like a debrief with your crew to talk about what happened and what problems are and warnings like that before the meeting with Ethic? Because we didn't really get to see you to disperse that information at all.
I'll tell you what problems
All
are.
up to
Problems
you,
are,
boss.
Captain.
Yeah. I think we all agreed that Astro should never touch another AI.
I think I don't want to surprise them on the day when we're talking to Ethics. So yeah, I think I want to debrief them, make sure everyone's apprised of the current situation.
All right, so how do you do it? Do you go to each person one by one and just like mention to them, or are you calling a crew meeting?
Quick crew meeting.
He just sends out a text.
I imagine Steve and Astro are just sitting or doing a urinal piss, and he just thinks, oh, by the way, Corsac found us.
I love it.
Shake and then leave.
I mean, you're not going to be able to do that with Evelene.
Well,
not with that attitude.
Astro calls the crew to a meeting, I assume, in the meeting room, unless you want it informal in like the cafeteria.
Meeting room's fine.
Okay. So everyone shows up. Curry's there, Jessica's there, the other 3 crew members, I assume, show up. Yep. Tell me now if you are deciding to protest for some reason.
Let's get everyone. Yeah. It's full transparency.
Oh, Dyne's protesting just about something else.
What is the so like walking into the meeting room, like is Dyne pissed? Like, what is the mood of everyone coming into the room?
Extremely frustrated.
Okay. As soon as Evelene sees this, she already pulls out the booze. She doesn't know what the announcement is, but she feels like it's bad.
Astro just looks nervous.
The booze and the tuna, or just the booze?
Just the booze.
Okay.
Can we please stop mixing canned tuna with booze?
That sounds terrible.
Curry is here. He is just like leaned up against the wall in his jumpsuit, not really knowing why everyone's gathered because he hasn't been told. He's just like chilling. I assume Jessica showed up with Steve, just like, I wonder if we're preparing for something. Talks to you in the hallway, Steve, on the way there. Do you know what this is about?
Once everyone settles in, Astro will say, so I had Artemis crunch the data. And what we have on our hands here is a classic good news, bad news situation.
Wait, what do you mean by crunch the data?
Well, I crunched the data. I had her monitor communications to try to get, try to pin down where, shoot, I forget the mercenary group's name.
Prismalo?
Prismalo, yeah. Try to narrow down where Prismalo is and who they might be working for.
Did you find them?
Yeah, so good news first. Yes, and we know who they're working for. They're working for CORSEC.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Wait. You sure that's not the bad news?
No, that's the good news.
What?
The bad news is that to confirm this information, Artemis decided to hack into CORSEC servers, and she was caught. And now CORSEC has our transponder info and knows where we are. That's the bad news.
Just silence for a minute.
Yeah, everyone's just quiet, staring at Astro.
Evelene
clears his throat.
Evelene breaks the silence by doing a straight shot from the bottle, and then passes it to anyone who is interested and say, "All right, what do we do about it?"
Curry grabs
Dyne
the
will take
bottle
it.
from you.
Yeah, I'll give it. I'd probably give it to Dyne first.
Dyne will take a shot and then pass it to Curry.
Astro
Curry takes a shot.
While everyone's taking shots, Astro will say, it's bad. I'm not going to deny it, but I'm not sure if it's a huge problem in our current situation. We already know CORSEC is sort of persona non grata here. They probably, as they're not invited to Project Rebirth, they're probably, not try to stick their nose in everyone's business here.
Do you actually believe that, Astro?
Well, I think we'll probably be able to do our work here. This will be a future problem that we will have to deal with.
Curry steps off where he's leaning against the wall and he goes, Captain, what if they ask for extradition? What if CORSEC's like, hey, we don't want to mess with your business. Give us these people who broke into our shit.
Good point. Very good point. That is something we probably need to discuss with Ethic.
Well, from the sounds of it, the timetable for when we need to go investigate has been moved up.
Yep, I'd say so. We should probably also have a GTFO plan. So, like, if CORSEC shows up at all, we get out of here.
That goes without saying, but I wonder.
If I may, this also means that if CORSEC is, let's just say, angry with us, and we found out that Prismalo is working for CORSEC, rather than searching for them, we now need to actively avoid them, I assume.
Our first step should be announcing that Prismalo is here and working for CORSEC. So they should be under the radar of the other cores here.
Yes, I agree.
Could we turn this to our advantage and admit that we did indeed hack CORSEC, but it was to
very interested to see how this plays out.
But it was to find saboteurs in our mix. Corporate espionage being carried out by CORSEC in Project Rebirth. We were acting in the best interest of the collective here.
Yeah, but wouldn't that put a big target on our heads from the other corporations who'd be like, well, they tried to hack CORSEC. Who's to say they won't try to hack us?
That's why we come clean about it. We show that we're working in their best interest.
The first thing they'll do is turn us over to CORSEC.
Yep.
Curry shrugs and goes, I don't know. I guess we could always ask Ethic. I mean, I'm liable to believe Steve here if he says, what do they have to lose except a couple of mercs if it gets CORSEC off their back? But also, I don't know. Do we have anything of value we can use?
Like I said, the fact that Prismalo is covertly working for CORSEC in the system, that's valuable intelligence. CORSEC, in a sense, is already on their backs. They have an agent, basically, in the field.
All right. Let
Surely
me
that's
ask you
useful.
this. Are we willing to start a corporate war?
I'm not saying initiate a war. I'm just saying take some of the heat off of us.
Sorry, unrelated to what you said. I'm just wondering what our objectives are here. And are we willing to start a corporate war that millions would be involved in?
Are you suggesting starting a corporate war?
I'm wondering if it's an option.
I mean, anything's an option if we escalate it enough.
I mean,
I just kind of stare at you like, yeah,
if it keeps CORSEC busy, I mean,
I don't even know why. What it could possibly, what advantage it could possibly provide us, rather than cause a whole lot of misery for millions of people everywhere.
Well,
keep us alive.
Yeah.
and I'll just point towards Dyne. If they're a lot more preoccupied with something else, they're not going to think about somebody who hacked into them, and will likely just assume the people that did was part of the corporate espionage here, like you mentioned. But if it becomes a big enough deal, they won't be looking at us, they'll be looking at the other corps. But it will likely start a war.
Well, that's sort of what I'm getting at. I don't know about if he'll escalate into full-scale war, but using this as a way of informing the other corps here of CORSEC's involvement, the secret involvement, and trying to paint it as we're looking out for their interest in Project Rebirth.
That's all fine and good. That's all right. I just want to know if you, Astro, are prepared to start a corporate war to get us out of this.
You think by us doing this we would start a corporate war is what you're saying?
No, not necessarily. We could still tell them that Prismalo is involved with CORSEC and that they're part of whatever. Like, we could tell them that. That's fine. I'm wondering if we have the option to escalate this for our own benefit. I don't think this is something you can answer right now necessarily, but it's something that you need to think about, Astro.
Well,
or not.
I don't know if we have that kind of influence. These are huge corporations. We're still minor players in the grand scheme of things.
Wait, still?
By ourselves, yes, but the fact of the matter remains, these corporals are up to something. They're not involving CORSEC. If we find out what it is and it's big enough, then we could start a corporate war with the information that we have. I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, and I'm leaving that up to you to decide, because we need to figure out what our options are and what we can do to get out of this shit. And if that's on the table, I want to know if I can work towards it or not. So you got to figure out if we can start a war, Captain.
Curry against the wall looks really grim.
Wait. What? Why do we want this to happen?
Did I accidentally a war?
Yeah, I mean...
I still don't know if it will come to such extremes.
Also, still, I feel like no one's hung up on that detail. Why do we want to become major players?
I don't understand how we'd become major players. I mean...
Well, Astro was saying we're still minor actors. I'm like, well, so the implication is that we won't be at some point.
That was not my implication at all.
Okay, as long because I don't want involved with this. To be clear, like
I'm just saying, if we're thinking of ourselves as major players, we may be overestimating our influence. But Steve is right. We have the potential of unveiling information that could lead to a full-scale war, depending on how we disseminate it.
So one other thing I want to call out is if Prismalo is operating on behalf of Corsac, it's possible this might happen naturally anyway. Just something I'm thinking about, like whatever, like let's say we didn't do the hack and nothing happened. Like, could Prismalo leak information to Corsac that would eventually lead to a corporate war anyway? Just putting it out there. Like, what if we spun it like that? At least so that we don't get in trouble with the people here.
Well, the issue is not we get in trouble based off of what Prismalo is leaking to Corsac. The issue is getting Corsac off our backs, and one way to do that is to remind the corporations that maybe Corsac is their real enemy, and they should be the ones concerned. They should be concerned about them, not us. And we're trying to look out for their best interest.
Evelene, I think I see what you're doing, and yes, we are not absolved of all sin if we did initiate some sort of war here. As far as I can tell, all corpos are on a knife's edge, so to speak, of starting wars with each other. I actually think it's rather impressive that 3 of them are working together here for something. Also scary. But be that as it may, we are the deciding factor on what happens, and we should live with those consequences, whatever they are. You can assume that the war would start anyways, but it might not. And if we're going to push forward with that, we should keep in mind that that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
well,
that's fair.
There's also the option that they don't find out anything at all. It could just be that our plan to investigate the area gets pushed so far forward that we just end up getting scapegoated. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm saying that's a possibility.
I say our best course of action is to frame this as we had suspicions about Prismalo, given some intelligence we heard about them still sticking around, and we investigated it, thinking they may be saboteurs or agents of chaos of some sort. And our investigation led to us finding out they're working for Corsac. The reason we hacked into Corsac was to confirm this, not because we were targeting Corsac. That's how
my only counter to this is that they would be wondering who the fuck other than the CDD would be crazy enough to try to hack into one of the most secure data centers in the known universe.
I want to point out that we report directly to EFIT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's no reason for us to go directly to the other corporations.
Oh, Ed, I'm not saying we should. I'm saying this is what we should propose with EFIT. And then
admitting to any sort of involvement puts us and EFIC under a pretty strict-looking microscope. Basically, whatever we do, it could get EFIC killed or at least out of her job.
More likely the former.
And I do think that we should tell EFIC soon, if not sooner. But keep in mind that whatever she says or whatever she tells us may likely be in her best interest.
And, well, it may be also in our best interest to do what's in her best interest, since she's our lifeline here.
I just raise an eyebrow looking at you, but don't say anything.
You disagree?
I just think we should keep it in mind.
Fair enough. Maybe we have time. Just because Corsac detected this incursion doesn't mean they'll act on it immediately. We're far out here.
Now, I want to
away
keep in
from-
mind, so sometimes we associate this planet because of its understatement in the lore of the universe as being a rimward planet. It is not. It is very near the core. The thing is, it's a useless planet, so people don't come here often. So it feels like an abandoned planet because it is, but it's actually like nearer the core than you guys have been yet.
And I have like a pretty good understanding of distance with FTL travel, right? Like how long do I think it would take them to get from the core worlds to here if they just
It depends on if they had a patrol in the area. You know what I mean? Like Corsac does regular patrols. They have those fleets. You guys have seen fleets of Corsac before that are like different groups of units that like patrol the known core space, right? If one's nearby, they could be as close as 3 jumps away, or they could be as far as like 9 jumps away. You know, that could be a difference in a week, you know, in terms of how long it takes to get here. They could get here tomorrow or like a week and a half, you know, if they beelined it for you. But you know that it is a rare thing that diverts a fleet from its target, you know. Maybe they dispatch some peacekeeping units. Maybe they dispatch just like an investigator, right? Just to be like, hey, go over there and see what's going on. There are tons of ways Corsac could handle this. And unfortunately, none of you no longer have a person on your crew that was part of Corsac. So you no longer have the same kind of logistic knowledge available in terms of how they act in that way.
And they have their own FTL drives in their ship, I assume, because they are Corsac.
Sometimes, right. So, depending on what kind of dispatchment they send, they might have to wait for the gates. But yeah, when they're sending out a war fleet, oftentimes they have a ship leading it who does like logistic FTL travel, right? Like imagine basically like a traveling gate unit or like a carrier, right? That all the other ships dock on the carrier jumps, and then everyone spreads out from the carrier again, kind of situation.
It like makes a giant warp bubble with all of them in it, right?
Exactly. Yep, it's very similar. Now, that's expensive technology, and even ships who have that capability don't use it often because traveling by gate is cheaper than doing a freeform jump.
Okay, that gives me the info I need for what I was going to say then.
Okay.
I'll just say that, look, honestly, we have as close to a day and as long as a few weeks, depending on how they answer to this. If they're sending, a single investigation unit or ambassador, they're going to be careful about it. They're going to take their time and investigate it in their own way. Careful not to start any kind of wars. But if they were waiting for something, which they very well may have been, anything to trigger what's been going on here or some way to get their foot in the door and what's happening on this planet, they could be here soon with many ships.
Jessica speaks up and goes, at the very least, this kind of evidence could be political footing for them. If all they wanted was to get an investigator or an ambassador here who could stick their foot in the door and not get shut out, having something on the other corporations is an effective way to hold leverage on them.
Yep, that's true. We could have very well just given them a reason to come here.
Yeah, they may not even care that we did it in the first place. They may just use it as a reason to mess with these other corps.
Okay. So
Which is all the more reason for the corporations to cut us out.
Just
Or
to
kill
get
us.
nods.
Or both.
Yeah.
so listen. No bad ideas, right? We're brainstorming, pie in the sky. What
I
if?
would like to amend that whatever got us into this situation was a pretty bad idea, but yeah, continue.
Regardless, what if we turn ourselves into Corsac? Or at
Bad
least
idea.
That's a
some
horrible
of us.
idea. You said there were no bad ideas, but I think you
Hold
found
on,
a bad
hold on.
idea.
Let's see what he's saying, because this can only get good. Please, Astro.
I take another drink. Go on.
Suppose I turn myself into Corsac with the ship, but you remain behind with our mechs. I say I was acting as a rogue agent. I ditched my crew, and I was trying to find dirt on Corsac. Now that they've found out, I'll turn myself in rather than lead the life of a fugitive.
Well, that's
Is
as
that it?
honorable as that sounds. There's very little chance they're going to leave the rest of us alone.
Yeah.
Also, Astro, I can guarantee you that corporations, at the very least, care about self-interest. I don't think they would understand why you were turning yourself in unless you thought you were going to get something out of it. I mean, even if you wanted to go through with this plan, you should be turning yourself in because you have state's evidence to turn on the other corporations, or you think you can plea bargain for leniency or something. They're not going to believe you're turning yourself in just because you don't want to be a fugitive.
Well, I could give Corsac the impression that I do have information to give them. But if we were to turn in at least part of our crew, or just me, that would free up the mission here. That would take away Corsac's excuse to come here.
I don't know about that, Captain. You think we're supposed to do this mission without you? We've been on blacklists before. I say fuck them.
Also, I think you're being
that's
a little.
a pretty bad idea there, Astro. I'm sorry.
Honestly,
let me color you with. Go ahead, Evelene.
Sorry, I was just gonna say you're being also a little optimistic that it will work exactly as you say it does.
Your idea's bad, and you should feel bad.
It's a good idea if we have information to use as a bargain, I suppose, and that's kind of where my question of are you okay with starting a corporate war comes in. But without that, let me, in my understanding of these corporos, explain the best case scenario of you doing this, Astro. You will be taken in, you will be interrogated horribly, tortured, and likely killed. We will not have access to the DBC, nor any resources to continue our mission here. Our best case is that we get out of this somehow, and get back to the station where Ren's at, and abandon this mission completely. It is very, very likely that Ethic will also take the blame for this, and be, if not decommissioned, then executed herself. That is the best case scenario, and that doesn't start a war. The worst case scenario is they don't care that you turned in, they still use it as an excuse, and still fight the other corpos the best they can.
The problem is that we don't have the information that would make it worth it for that plan to work.
But again, if we do have that information, we're likely starting a war.
Captain, I think it's kind of you to want to take responsibility and shield your crew, but honestly, you're probably better off here with us.
Well, as I was saying, just brainstorming, trying to consider all the options we might have available to us. I think maybe at this point we should get Ethic on the line and see what she makes of all of this.
None of the options are great options.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if we're lucky, Epic might have something we can work with. I mean, maybe she found something we can use in conjunction with our situation.
Either way, our timeline has sped up, and I'll look at Astro. I don't think turning ourselves in is going to be a viable option. We're basically one man versus an entire government. That's nothing.
I just want to say that I am formally advocating us starting something between these corpos. I understand that's bad for a lot of people, but not only does it possibly save us, but it starts instability. And from what I can tell, that's what Ren's organization is looking for in the corpos, right?
I tend to feel the same way.
Curry says, guys, I don't know. I mean, sure, it sounds fine at all until we talk about how all the forces the corporations field are just unlucky schmucks most of the time. Sure, we have to deal with the assholes up top, but man, I'm not looking to get a bunch of planets bombarded.
That's sort of my thoughts too. Like I'm trying to wrap my mind around the idea of getting other people involved.
Look, I hate the idea too, but do you guys want to really live under the corpo's thumb forever? Don't you want to make some sort of difference or try to get out of it in some way? Stop them from being them?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you need to pick your battles, Steve. I mean...
And I am, and I'm picking this one. We've got to set a stand. We've got to do something about it and make our own future as people. Everyone here on this ship, on these planets, they're all just schmucks living under the thumb, as Curry said.
Sure, but I mean, you need to pick your opportunities as they present them. Like, this doesn't seem like the opportunity yet.
Why not? How many corporate wars do you have sitting on your desk that you're able to start a rebellion?
I have to admit, not many.
Well, who's to say this isn't the one?
All right. Fair enough, but I'm just saying, like, you know, if there are other opportunities and we can wait for another day, I'd say we take it.
Why? Because you're involved? Because you're in the middle of it? Because you have to make the choice to do it?
No,
someone has to make that choice eventually.
Because everyone else is involved, Steve. That's why.
Everyone's always going to be involved, Evelene. That doesn't change. That'll never change. Everyone has to make a choice. And that's my vote. That would be my choice.
Let's just see what Epic has to say. I don't think we're getting anywhere talking about this now at this point. I think we reached a conclusion. Let's see what happens next.
Okay. Well, let's call her up then.
Captain, do you want to call her from here? We have the comm system in the meeting room.
Yes, let's do that. Let's have everyone present for this.
I'll send a communication request. This is we're still like 12 hours ahead of our scheduled meeting time, so I can't guarantee she'll be available, but I'll send a request.
Okay.
All right, and then Jessica will send a request to FX office. You guys have a few minutes before hearing a response.
Where's that bottle?
Dyne's already finished it.
Yeah. I was going to say, Curry probably handed it back to Dyne after he was done with it. And Dyne apparently
just
finished it off.
Kind of swaying left and right a little.
Yeah.
I'm cutting you off, but I'm also getting another bottle. I'm going to leave the room because I think we've exhausted the booze in this room. I'll be back in a sec.
Jessica kind of like leans back in her chair after she sends the message. The like little, you know, your meeting table has one of those things where every single place around the meeting table can turn into a personal terminal. So she kind of like messed around with the terminal at her seat, and you know she sent a message and put it up on the table, so it'll come in there. She kind of like leans back and is just like staring at the information that's on the terminal in front of her, kind of evaluating it. What are the rest of you all doing? Evelene left to get more drink.
Dyne is just drinking a glass of water to try and hopefully dilute some of the alcohol in his system before this call happens. I don't know.
Astro's just pacing back and forth.
Curry's doing the same thing, just on a different part of the room. Curry's like pacing back and forth along his side of the table.
I'm going to send a message to Jessica via terminal, and just have it be a private thing to her. That says, cancel or have T capital cancel search requests, warning danger.
Yeah, Jessica will quickly send a message to you at her terminal back to you, and will say, I'll send a message as soon as the meeting is over. The message also says, I'm preparing personal evac options for us just in case.
I just make eye contact with her, and that's it. But...
all right. And then after a little while, Jessica, yes, well, I just got a message back from Ethic. She can be available. She said, be ready in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Jessica sighs and then like sits back in her chair and then makes eye contact with you, Steve, and she just nods, indicating that she did the thing you asked her to do.
Okay.
All right. After 5 minutes, eventually, on the planning table, Astro, kind of aimed at you, a display pops up of Ethic. Ethic, it looks a little bit out of sorts, is like, you could tell as it's connecting, has like sat down and has a bunch of like stacks of paperwork that she like in folders that she's like placing around her at the desk as the call like connects, as she like sits down in front of the computer and goes, Astro, you're early. Is there a problem?
Yes, there is a problem.
I didn't want that to be the answer, but go ahead.
Okay, so we started investigating Prismalo, and in the process, we alerted Corsec to our presence here.
Hold on, what? What did those two things have to do with each other?
Well, I had one of our NHPs run a program to try to determine who Prismalo was communicating with, who they were working for, and it took on its own subroutines and decided in order to.
She raises one of her eyebrows at you as you continue talking.
It decided in order to confirm her suspicions, she would hack the Corsec servers, because you see, Artemis, our NHP, determined that Prismalo is working for Corsec.
Shit.
Hold
on. She holds up like one finger to the screen as you see her like lean out of frame and like grab a stack of papers and starts like leafing through it. Okay, that makes that make a whole lot more sense. You see her like crossing some things out in a report she's only barely reviewed. God damn it. Okay, go ahead, Astro.
Yes. So in the process of confirming that, Artemis, our NHP, decided to hack into Corsec to sort of confirm the communications going on from that end. But she was detected. She cut off the connection immediately, but we believe Corsec now has our transponder info, and they know where we are.
You just see Ethic like put her face into her hands, just like sits there for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, so not good.
All right. All
I
right.
apologize for this
Okay.
complication.
I think that was a rash decision to make, but it did give us some information. Oh, God. Okay. What else have you
So,
found?
um, I'll turn to others. Anyone else have any useful info, by the way, in your investigations?
Evelyn just shrugs.
I don't really have a lot of time to do much. You were very efficient in your investigation, Captain, so I wasn't able to determine who Prismalo was working for before you. So no, not a lot of
That was the main
information.
thing. We know Prismalo has been posing as a independent rebel cell, but they haven't had any actual contact with any other of the rebels
Okay.
because
Well,
that's just their cover.
good. Okay. That at least allays one of my fears, which was whoever Prismalo is working with, have they allied or taken over some of the rebel cells for their own purposes? If Prismalo's cell has not contacted the other cells, then perhaps these are separate groups still, and the rebel cells haven't been completely controlled by an outside source.
Does that line up with what your sources told you, Steve? Did they have they heard of Prismalo, or were they not aware?
I have access to one of those cells, but the cells are fractured, as you expected. I don't know what most of them know. I just know what the one I have access to knows, and they did not. But I don't expect the others to. Like you said, I think they're working on their own.
Good.
Posing
Well,
as.
if there's not a puppet master controlling the rebels, that makes them more predictable, at least. So that's helpful. I'm not going to lie to you. I have found not. I don't have much good news for you either. Um, do you have a threat assessment? Have you thought about what this Corsec breach is going to cost us? Do you know what kind of danger we're in? I mean, I can look into it myself, but I assume you've been mulling over this data for longer than I've had it.
It all depends on how Corsec decides to respond to this information. Worst case scenario could be very bad for us. They could request to extradite us, to request to the other corporations, that is, to extradite us. And of course, that would look bad on you as well, since we are essentially your hires. Best case scenario, maybe this is not at the top of a list of things they want to take care of right away. And we have time to do what we need to do. But it's just difficult to predict how Corsec's going to react to this.
Honestly, you're closer to this than we were. How much did Corsec want to get involved in this project in the first place?
Well, they've made overtures. In fact, they've reached out to me specifically before, knowing that I was handling logistics and have well placed. When I brought it to my other council members, they all were immensely dismissive of the idea. Corsec offered to provide security at reasonable rates, but the other council members elected to hire on or bring in private security firms instead that were more under their purview.
Apparently, Corsec has a lot of interest in what's going on here, and that is why they have Prismalo working for them. We
Honestly, I will say that that level of corporate espionage is not unheard of. I don't know if that is going to necessarily be the most explosive spark. To some extent, they all expect they're all spying against each other all the time. How effective and how destructive that spycraft is will rankle them more or less. Do we know to what extent Prismalo has gotten their tendrils in?
I can't imagine much on their own.
We don't have that kind of intelligence currently. That's something maybe we could look into.
Well, let's not jump into anything immediately. Okay, well, I might as well give you the information I have thus far. There are still a few things I'm waiting to hear back about, but, well, you all told me about 70.106, and I started looking into it and trying to find out more about it. I wasn't able to get a good idea of what is going on there, but I did come across something interesting. I work most of the logistics for Operation Rebirth, for Project Rebirth. And in doing so, there's a lot of timetables that need updated, a lot of things that need shuttled from place to place. And, well, I had a few of my seemingly less scrupulous workers make overtures to other workers about being unsatisfied working for me and looking to maybe make some more money under the table. And I was able to find something interesting. There are shipments not on the registrar, as we all knew was probably the case, things that they are moving from place to place that aren't going through me, as we assume everything going to 7106 is. Well, I was able to find out about one of those shipments. Apparently, there is a pickup scheduled on 7106 in 3 days. The destination, I don't know. The cargo, I don't know. But I was able to get one of my seedier crewmates to get brought in to the fold to make a little extra money. And they're going to be on this trip. We know now that in 3 days from now, there is going to be some sort of shipment pickup from 7106 to parts unknown. If we want a time period that's the best time to hit it and find out as much as we can, doing so at that point might give us info not only on what's happening there, but what they're shipping and to where.
That sounds actionable. Do you want us to be there when the shipment happens?
That's where we need to have a discussion.
Well,
doing so will be burning the reputation you've built here. We all knew that this was going to be a possibility at some point. Getting you in undercover was ultimately a ruse so that we could get you in places where you can investigate where you wouldn't be able to normally. If we go hot and move in on this facility that we should not know about, it will be giving the plot away.
Given this recent complication with CORSEC, I think we can't afford to wait too long. It may be better for us to go in hot and soon.
Well, I have another thing supporting that, which is ever since your little visit to the clinic, I will say I found an increased interest in my logistics planning from Doc Grosser over the past day or two. just in a very saccharine and helpful way. I believe we're being watched anyway. Ultimately, if we don't use the advantage while we have it, we might lose it without getting to use it.
Sounds like we're probably already living on borrowed time then.
What does that mean for you, Ethic?
That's a good question. I came up with a lot of ideas. I thought about disavowing you, turning you in. I thought about abandoning the project, finding refuge with one of my co-conspirators with the dialectics. I thought about reaching out to Ren to see what they had to say about the issue, but I risked giving the whole game away just by making that outreach. So, my ears are open if you have any clever ideas. I will say things don't look very bright.
You probably should disavow us after this operation. Maybe there's something we can do. Maybe we can stage something where you try to turn us in when you realize we've gone rogue. But not until we've made our getaway.
That's dangerous in its own way for both of us, but it of course is an option. You could come with us. We could take you back to Ren Station.
This is going to sound maybe silly to you all when lives, in my life perhaps, is at stake, but I fear becoming irrelevant and less useful. All of a sudden, if I burn my reputation, what use am I anymore? Most of what I've been able to provide has been because of my placement and my carefully groomed persona for the past 5 years.
I understand. That's a lot of work to throw out the window all at once.
She leans back in her chair a little bit. I mean, ultimately, this isn't something you all have to worry about. I can figure it out. Probably.
I mean, I don't think we would necessarily blame you if you just threw us under the bus to preserve your station. I mean, it wouldn't be great, but at the same time, I mean, if this is the best opportunity for you to collect information and just, be useful, then, I mean, it's not like we haven't had other corpos have angry at us already.
Yes, well, I don't know, I guess.
I mean, realistically, would we be going back to Ren Station, a place we know Corsac has visited before, when our transponder has already been marked?
Well, Ren's is an independent station, one of the last. They don't need to log your comings and goings.
No, but if a Corsac ship happens to go by for any reason, our ship would be very obviously marked.
That's going to be
their
wherever
probably
we go.
Routine scans.
I don't think core ships go to the station that often without a purpose. It would probably be one of the safest places until we figure out somewhere else to go.
I mean,
Oh,
Curry
boy.
steps forward and says, "We got friends, high and low. I mean, we were on the run for a year before."
That's true.
We're practically professionals at this point.
Hey, there's not any way to frame Prismalo as double agents that were just trying to get their way into Corsac's data for someone on this side, right?
That's actually a thought. I mean,
Well, says Jessica, it would be very hard to spoof their data without having direct access to it.
Could we claim that we've been hacked?
I mean, I guess we could try, but I've learned all this stuff about technology and monitoring and hacking, and I'll thank you for being patient with me while I figure all of this out, but honestly, Astro has more experience with it than I do.
I think we could try to make a case that we're a frame, but it would be difficult.
Actually,
It would-
says Effic, even going through that process would put a mark on us. Even just going
Yes.
through that investigation process. There's some upside if it works out to our advantage, but in the short term, it will tie our hands.
I think our main focus now should be the mission and getting on to 700 whatever point.
70.106 is the sector on E2705.
Okay.
Honestly, even with Doc Grosser breathing down my neck, we are still in a situation where we are cloaked, are standing with Operation Project Rebirth. I'm sorry, now, ever since you told me about Operation Nucleus, I can't get it out of my head. Ever since, you're still in good standing with Project Rebirth. You can move with an amount of freedom until we go loud, which will get you where you need to go without being harassed. So, at the very least, you'll start on a good foot. Remember how we talked about that transponder you found lodged in one of your mechs?
Yes.
Well, if we're about to play all our trump cards, perhaps it's time to figure out how to use that.
Yeah, that's true. What do we want to do about that?
Technically, I'm not even supposed to know about it because they didn't tell me they were monitoring your movements. You're not supposed to know about it either, obviously. Is there a way we can use the fact that they don't know that we know to our advantage?
Maybe mislead them somehow.
Mislead them in the direction that we're traveling.
Yes, something like that. Maybe we could send the ship off somewhere else while we make our way to 70.106 by a different means of transit.
Effic sits up in her chair and goes, "Actually, that's a great idea. I can arrange alternate transport down to the planet. I have a fleet of ships that I can provide. The starts of a plan are starting to come together for me. You remember Forvian Crow?
Yes.
We protected his transport ship that one time, right?
Yes,
That guy, yeah.
He's an accomplished battle pilot. I have access to pod ships. If you want to do an atmospheric entry down to the planet, I can have him take you there while you send the DBC somewhere else. And then you can bring in the DBC just at the end when you need pickup. That way, we can say you're one place when you're actually another.
Now we're getting somewhere. This sounds good. Sounds promising.
It'll still be a one-time shot and we're blowing cover, but that could buy you hours, if not a whole day, of not knowing where you are, who they're being attacked by.
And we'd be able to bring our mechs aboard?
Well, if I put you on a pod ship, it'll launch you down through the atmosphere. If Have you never ridden a pod ship before, Astro?
We definitely have.
Let's pretend I haven't.
Well, it is an atmosphere. It is a low atmosphere implant ship. You load all of your mechs into individual hangar pods. The ship descends into low orbit and then launches you down to the planet. The ship itself never comes down to land, but will launch you down to the planet where your pods will impact and then open up. It is it's for combat insertions. Now, I won't be able to arrange a pickup if we do this, so you'll need the DBC to come back and get you. But I can easily say that if I'm going to disavow you, that you found out that we were monitoring your location and decided to tell me you were somewhere else on a project that I had you on, and then it turned out you weren't there and you had stolen one of my ships to go down to the planet or something along those lines.
Perfect.
I mean, it will make me look incompetent, but I'm willing to suffer that if it gets us what we need.
Better to look incompetent than traitorous, I guess.
I mean, can any of you think of problems? Anything we'd have to account for here?
I'm sure problems may arise, but this to me sounds like the best course of action to do what we need to do.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about all the different ways this can go south, but like, it's something. I mean, something's better than nothing, I guess.
I think it's a good plan. Anyone else? Thoughts?
Just be prepared to ad-lib, I guess.
I mean,
be prepared for anything. We don't know what's down there.
We can't guarantee at all what you'll find down there or where that will lead you. Know that you have full operational freedom once you're down there to do what you think is best. I will have to disavow you anyway once you've gone down, but do the work that you think needs to be done. If there's a lead that you need to follow up on, do it. But once you start this, you cannot be in communication with me again.
Understood.
Sounds good.
All right, then.
Well, we can be with someone else, though.
Meaning?
Let's say Grime is your biggest obstacle right now. What if we attempted to contact him after mission briefing of sorts, and we forgot to encode the signal?
I mean, at the very least, it would be something he would have to answer endless questions about for a while.
What if it happened to Doc Grosser? I mean, now's your time. If we're going to go out anyways, we might as well try to take someone with us.
That's very true. Is there anything we can use that would back up suspicion for someone else?
Well, we did go to Doc Grosser's lab when it was under a planned attack.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good thought. We're taking our one shot. We might as well try to make the most of it that we can.
The one thing I'm worried about is if you found out about 70.106 from Doc Grosser's manifest showing shipments there, we don't even know who owns that facility. Is it possible Doc Grosser is one of the proprietors of this place and it'd be like accusing someone of stealing from themselves?
Yeah, it's possible it may not hold water.
Yeah.
I guess it's something we can decide once we're in the field and we learn more information about what's going on there.
Like I said, I'll have to trust your judgment once you're down there.
Yeah, it sounds like we'll have to decide who to frame once we see what's going on down there.
All right, I'm willing to move forward on this and start preparing for it, unless anyone has reason we should rethink this.
No, I think given what's going on, especially with CORSEC breathing, with potential of CORSEC breathing down our neck, this is probably our best option.
I agree. I'm on board.
Everyone, get yourselves prepared for a mission. I'm going to come up with a other mission that you're not going to help out with. And you can just send the DBC along, and I'll arrange for Forvian to get your transport ready. Make sure you're ready.
All right.
All right, yeah.
We have less than 3 days. I want you there when that shipment is ready to go.
Sounds good. We'll make the preparations on our end.
I guess this is kind of goodbye, because after this, I'm just going to have to send Forvian to talk with you.
Well, Ethic, it's been a pleasure working with you. I hope we didn't complicate your life too much.
She smiles.
I apologize. I apologize if we did.
I knew I was taking a risk when I wanted to look into what was going on here, but this is one of the most odd combinations of corporate cooperation I've ever seen. I think it's worth the risk to find out what's going on.
And let me just say that what Steve mentioned earlier, that will still be on the table as long as possible. If you want to hitch a ride with us to Ren Station, we'd be more than happy to pick you up.
Well, I'll let you know if I'm in need of a good kidnapping later. For now, focus on your mission.
Okay.
Hey, dumb question. When we find out whatever we find out, do we just tell Ren and you'll find out through the grapevine, I guess, or what?
Any info you find, get it to Ethic. Or get it to Ren.
Get it to myself.
We'll tell you right afterward.
Yeah. Whatever information you find, get out of here and get it to Ren. We can't know who else to trust, and contacting me directly after we set this in motion might just throw everything away.
Right.
So focus on finding the info and focus on getting it somewhere where you're safe first before disseminating it. I worry that the systems around here are too locked down and any transmissions made might be caught anyway. Work in hard data as much as you can.
Dyne mumbles under his breath so that, not like, unless you're standing right next to him, didn't stop Artemis from trying to hack CORSEC.
Just loud enough for Astro to hear it next to him.
I think we all hear it, actually. Everyone in the room.
All right. Well, good luck. It's been good working with you, Astro. You and your team have been nothing but exemplary.
Well, thank you.
Excepting a big mishap recently that I'm going to pretend didn't happen.
I'm glad you said it and not me.
She smiles wryly.
Much appreciated. I'll say the same about you. Minus any mishaps.
Did you just thank her for not having a mishap?
Thank her for exemplary work that was without mishaps. Yes.
I'll take it in the spirit it was given, Astro. Thank you. Take care.
Bye, Effic. Good luck.
All right. And with that, she will cease the communication.
All right. Well, at least we've got a plan in place.
Curry steps forward, is
Yes,
like,
indeed.
at least I feel like I know where to direct my energy then. Well, if you all are going on a mission without the DBC, what do you want us to do with that transponder? Are we just keeping it with the ship? Are we going to plan on jettisoning it at some point? Like, are we doing something clever with it?
I think the best use of it is probably keep it with the DBC while you're on the mission, and then when you're about to turn around to come pick us up, jettison it at that point. That way they think that we're still out there and don't know where you've turned around to.
Jessica will nod and go, we'll take care of it.
Sounds good. I need a nap. Why am I more stressed than Astro as Dyne walks out of the room?
Oh, I just hide it well.
All right. Well, it sounds like you guys have the starts of a plan and 3 days to prepare for it. What do you want to do in that time?
All right.
I assume this is where we can do a downtime action.
So now we're going to allow downtime action. So each one of you will be allowed to, attempt to gain reserves or anything you think or resources you might need for the upcoming mission. Keep in mind that there are like other things you can get than like it might give you guys some more ideas. Looking through the bonuses, resources, mechs, and tactical reserves that are things that you might acquire from this if you want to foment ideas of what you can do in this time.
Yeah, I'm going to look through them.
Yeah, there's a part in the rule book that specifically has a list of the different reserves. I'm trying to find it.
They can be ephemeral things like backing, supplies, blackmail, like even a diversion is a type of resource you can get. Tracking is a type of resource you can get. Disguises is a resource you can get. All the way to tactical, which is like a vehicle you wouldn't normally have access to. Reinforcements, accuracy added to a weapon. Like an ambush, or you know what I mean? So I will say, if you think about it that way, you've gotten a reserve already, which is what Effic is giving you, which is orbital drop, which is a tactical reserve she is giving you for this mission.
And you could also get like different types of mech equipment and gear and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Depending on how the downtime action plays out. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Not for sure you can, but you can certainly attempt to.
So when Dyne did his like history research, did he kind of figure out like what the current state is as far as like atmospheric around that area?
So that is something that you can investigate more if you want, because the historic data was all pre-fall E2705.
Because my idea is, assuming that the planet is uninhabitable, we would probably want some environmental shielding if for some reason we had to leave our mechs. So he would kind of like to source that, but he would probably need the current situation on the planet to figure out what kind of environmental shielding we would need, right?
That totally makes sense. That would be the equivalent of giving you like I mean, it's kind of supplies as a resource.
Yeah.
Gear allowing easily crossing of a hazardous or hostile area.
Yeah. So I guess that like the check to figure out what we would need based on would be like an investigation to figure out what I would be looking for first, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. All right. We are gonna roll investigate, and I rolled an 8.
Ah, okay. And you were doing gather information?
Yeah.
Or not gather information, I guess. Because I guess that would tell you a thing. So hold on. Let's say it was actually. Yeah, we should figure out which downtime action you're using and then what thing you're rolling. Because it might be scrounge or barter to try and like find the thing you're looking for. It might be power to cost to get a thing. It could be go diving. Probably not get organized. Get connected. Use a contact to get aid as reserves for the mission. Could be a thing.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different ones. Which one do you want it to be?
I mean, I've already rolled, so I'm just gonna see. Let's see here. Let's go with scrounge or barter.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's one we've ever actually used, so let's go with it.
All right, so here's what scrounge and barter is. You want pilot gear, a vehicle, narcotics goods, or other sundries. It could be physical or not. It doesn't need to be. But you can take it on the next mission as reserves. Name what you want and roll. And you did, and you want supplies to try and get through a possibly hazardous area. On a 9 or less, you get what you want, but choose one. It was stolen, probably from someone who's looking for it. It's degraded, old, filthy, or malfunctioning. Or someone else has it right now and they won't give it up without force or convincing.
Let's go with degraded, old, filthy, or malfunctioning.
All right. So what you're able to come across then in your time then, Dyne, is you start looking into what's going on in the planet, and you realize very quickly, oh, right, this is part of the problem, is not a lot of work has been done on what is touted as Operation Rebirth, the rehabilitation of the planet. And even this sector, sector 70.106, is not shown what kind of danger it is. It could be any of a variety of things. But you do know there are teams whose job it is to survey the planet. You're able to, through some connections and backhanded placement of coin and credit, able to get hold of old decommissioned planet surveying gear. This is gear that's already made its run on the planets. Survey groups have already used this gear to survey E2705. So it is the kind of stuff that the survey teams would go down to the planet in to see if it's worth doing each sector or what's required in each sector. The downside is it was actively decommissioned. So the actual survey teams have deemed this equipment too old or too malfunctioning for them to want to use it anymore. But it's better than nothing.
So I'm going to take it and work with Evelene and Curry to see if we can get it in better shape in the next 3 days, essentially.
All right. That's a possibility.
I'll leave it up to Evelene to figure out what she wants to do, but that's what I would come to her with this idea.
What is the equipment? Sorry, I've been looking through the resources.
It is the gear that the survey teams would go down to the planet in, but it's decommissioned survey gear. So it's heavily used. It's not gently used. It's heavily used survey gear. So it will work, maybe. Will it work as effectively as you want? You don't know until you try it.
I mean, this seems like should I make it just a dice roll to fix it up, or
Well, you could use that as your downtime action if you want. What happened is you got reserves, which are supplies. The downside that Dyne rolled is, sure, you got the supplies, but they are degraded, old, filthy, or malfunctioning, which means they'll still do what you want, maybe. Will they be as effective as you want them to be? Who knows? So basically, Dyne comes back with, hey, I found gear for us to wear down to the planet, but can't guarantee how effective it'll be.
Gotcha.
All right. And during this time, during these 3 days, you can hit me up with your downtime action and what you want to do, but I also want to hear what you guys are doing narratively during this time as well. This might be your last 3 days moving freely on the station of E2705. So if you want to do stuff here, meet up with anyone here, or anything that you feel like needs to be done on this station before starting this next operation, like it would have to be probably be now. So I also want to peek into what your lives are like for these 3 days. So if anyone has an idea, who wants to shout it out?
Well, I have an idea for my downtime action too. I don't know about just everyday stuff. I'm sure I'd be talking with Jessica about plans and whatnot, right?
Uh-huh.
But for my downtime action, giving some others some time to think, I suppose, I want to contact Tabitha again and kind of let her know what's going on, because that could be a really great distraction, I think.
Okay. Yeah, you want possibly a diversion?
Well, this is like the moment, right? Like if something doesn't happen or happen here, then I don't know what she plans on doing after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if she sends her forces to the planet at the same time we go, or before or slightly after, they might not even know we were there.
All right. So yeah, that's totally probably a get connected, I would assume, calling in favors from a connection.
Yeah, either calling in favors or the diversion, I think, was one of them too.
Oh yeah,
right?
no. So what reserves you get and what downtime action you do are slightly disconnected from each other.
Okay.
The downtime actions are things like buy some time, gather information, get a damn drink, get connected, get creative, get focused.
Yeah.
Those are the actions you do. The reserves the bonus you get from it, narratively, can be anything from the reserves list as long as it makes sense. So I'm just saying your action might be get connected, but the reserve you get might be diversion or reinforcements from Tabitha, depending on how you want this to work out.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so what do you want to roll here? For get connected, when you get connected, you make connections, call in favors, ask for help, or drum up supports for a course of action. You can use your contacts, resources, or aid as reserves for the next mission. Name your contact, Tabitha, and then roll. So yeah, just decide what thing you're rolling.
I would like to roll read a situation so that I can get a good feeling of where she's at with it, to try to like talk her into it. How about that?
Perfectly reasonable way to do this. Absolutely.
All right. I roll. Do I? Never mind. I was going to ask if I had accuracy because I know her so well.
Nope, unfortunately you don't. You guys are off to a rough start, but luckily downtime actions are primarily positive. They just might have downsides, or you'll have to give up on them. So you won't get a definite, like, she's not going to shoot you. On a
but
9
I did roll a 9 in case anyone missed it.
Yes,
So.
absolutely, which is just one below what you wanted. On a 9, your contact will help you, but you have to do a favor or make good on a promise right now. If you don't, they won't help you. So you have to figure out something you can give her of value right now that would be enough for her to commit resources on behalf of you. This is a direct tit for tat situation.
Oh, people aren't going to like me. Oh. So, she doesn't know about Ethic, does she?
No, she doesn't.
She does now.
Oh no.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
All right, so
Wow, let it go.
you're blowing Effic's spot as not necessarily just a member of the counselors who is operating Project Rebirth, but you are outing her to Tabitha as a member of the Dialectics.
I will ask for what's the subtlety with that information, because it could hinder me greatly. But yes, I will.
Tabitha will agree. This is like a good bargaining chip you've given her.
Yeah.
She likes this trade, so she is ready to commit resources in your cause as well. So because this was such a good trade for her, I'm going to give you a lot of operational freedom in not defining what the reserve is right now. You can use this for almost anything you need while you're within contact range of Tabitha. So you don't necessarily, like, what I'm going to say is you can absolutely use it for the things you've already named, but you don't have to limit yourselves to those. You don't even have to use it for the benefit of your crew. If you don't want, you could use it solely for your own benefit if you want. Like,
sure.
Just what I'm saying is put Tabitha favor in your back pocket as reserves, and we can define what that is when it becomes relevant.
All right. Sorry, I gotta play to Steve, guys. It is what it is. No hard feelings. No. It's only business.
It's not like you try to kill someone. It's fine.
What are you from the affiliation? Listen, it's business. It's just business. All right. Well, Steve, you have a very productive conversation with Tabitha where you give her that information, and her honor obliges her to, like, throw in if she thinks that you're going to do something that advantages your mutual employer. She is like, that not only does she think you have what it takes, that she feels like she should help you. You get a sense with your Rita situation that she feels obliged to you now.
Sick. All right, cool. And then, the rest of that is just me planning with Jessica different options and talking through what she's going to do with the transponder and all that kind of stuff.
A thing she tells you is she's also been working with a few people she's been able to make contact with and has arranged alternate exfiltration options if they become necessary, but they would only be enough for you and her.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So she has accomplished the thing she set out to do. Just in case. She says don't have to use it, but she always wants to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For the others, have you come up with what's going on, what you'd be checking up on, or downtime actions for these 3 days?
I had a few thoughts,
Absolutely.
And I kind of want to bounce this past the EM group. So I was going down the path of either doing like some sort of disguise, because I really like the idea of us not necessarily being out of place as soon as we show up, or maybe fixing it, or doing something to give us better equipment for the area, which ties in nicely with what Dyne did. Out of those two, I feel like repairing equipment might be more Eveline's wheelhouse. I don't know if anyone else wants to explore the idea of disguises. I don't know if that's something you're thinking about, Todd. If not, then whatever.
Disguises sound interesting, but it's also like, who do we disguise ourselves as?
That's true.
It's like we don't have enough intel about what we're getting into. We could, like, maybe assume if LIT is involved, maybe we could, like, be LIT employees or contractors, but it's just, there's a lot of unknowns.
There's a little bit of risk. Like, if we showed up as, like, Uncanny Ravine, and Uncanny Ravine's there, I mean, we're hosed. Which I fully expect them to be there, now that I think about it.
Disguised as Uncanny Ravine, it would be Smiles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, we haven't encountered them in a while. We're due for an encounter because they're weird as shit. But anyway, I think it makes sense, the most sense for Evelene, because I mean, also just her character. Like, I think if you give her a problem like this, she's gonna want to try to solve it. So maybe fixing up the gear that Dyne presented. Now I wasn't sure which downtime action that would be, or is it just a straight just skill check?
So yeah, it would still have to be a downtime action. But you know what? Like, if you're trying to repair the gear that Dyne has already brought you, it's kind of like you've already you've already rolled once on the Get Creative. You know how Get Creative gets better the more time you put into it or whatever?
Okay, yeah.
So usually on Get Creative on a 10 through 19, you make progress but don't quite finish it. The next time on your next downtime, you can do it without rolling. Or on 9 or less, if you don't make any progress, but the next time you get those result for the same progress, treat it as a 10 through 19. So it's like you can just treat Dyne's previous roll as if he got a 9 or less on Get Creative. So whatever you roll will be upgraded one step.
Perfect.
Because you already have stuff to start with.
Yeah, I was scared of that middle step because I'm like, oh shit, I mean, that's basically a failure, but I already have a previous success.
It's basically a fail. So you could only roll a fail or a success. You can no longer get the middle way here. It'll either take too long or you'll succeed.
Perfect. Okay, then I'd like to do Get Creative on that to make that gear ready to go.
Okay. And what are you rolling?
So my options are Creative Engineering or Hacker Fix. I'm leaning toward Creative Engineering just because I feel like that's more appropriate for what we're doing here, because it's not necessarily faulty. It's just old gear. Where Creative Engineering, like, Evelene knows where to find stuff because she's literally been visiting these facilities on planet for a while, so that might be to her benefit if she needs stuff that she doesn't normally have. So I'm going to do the thing if there's no objections.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. No accuracy, I assume?
No accuracy.
Okay, doke. Okay, roll that bean footage. 24, holy shit.
Hey, you take Orion's gear. And you are able to, with your creative engineering, you look at it and are able to intuit from how it works, how it's supposed to work. So even though you don't have all the data on, like, this is what to expect when we go down, you do now. Because you're able to see, like, how did these parts corrode? What happened to these filters? What would have caused these filters to look like this after heavy use? So I'm actually going to give you a bonus because I'm kind of going to put together yours and Dyne's rolls into a single thing. So you're going to get kind of two things out of it. One, you now have gear for the four of you that is survey gear. It is now repaired survey gear. You have the survey gear that the people would normally use to come down to the planet in, fixed up and ready to go. And also, Chimera, because you did so good on doing this repair work, you had extra time to, like, puzzle over the corroded and broken down pieces, and you know what you're dealing with in terms of environment when you get down there, which I'm going to call... let's see. I'm going to call that... we already got supplies, which is helping you with the area. But I'm going to say that this allows you to not be surprised by the terrain or environment when you're down there, which is environmental shielding, which is a tactical reinforcement. You now have equipment that allows you to ignore battlefield hazard or dangerous terrain while on the planet. You're able to use that information and incorporate it into your mechs as well, knowing what the mechs will have to be able to stand up to.
Now I'm worried about what was there that we would have had to deal with.
Yeah, that would be bad, wouldn't it? Not knowing.
Watch as like acid rain or something, like something terrifying.
I told you guys, this is a bad planet. This is not a good planet, guys.
Fair.
All right, so now you guys have supplies and environmental shielding. Evelene, While you're doing this, you will note that after a while, you start getting responses from Rhyolite from various people you've sent messages to.
Interesting. I was not expecting them to happen in this part of the mission.
Well,
What's
it's
the
a
word?
few days. It's, email can come in at any time. So as you start getting responses from old people, old associates on Rhyolite, remind me, did you send one of these messages to Emmett as well, or just associates from when you were back on planet?
I don't see why I wouldn't.
Okay, great. So for a lot of the people you're getting messages back, it's all like you would have to spend a downtime action going through this stuff in order to make sense of it, to get an idea of what's really going on. Because a lot of it's just like, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. Here's what's going on. Oh, it's like shooting the shit in emails, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot of people being like, oh, that old foreman, he, crushed his toe, a few months back, and, he was off and I got promoted for a little while. A lot of people wanting to tell you what's been up on the day-to-day kind of stuff. They mention little things here and there throughout the messages that are a little odd, like that are things that you don't remember being that way when you were there. So you get an odd sense from these messages that perhaps things have changed on Rhyolite a little bit since you last been there, but no one's like talking about it in a way that they seem concerned about it in any way. It's very much like it's just in like side bits of how they're referencing things. You're like, but that's not how that used to work, kind of things. And then you also get a message back from Emmett. His is a little longer. And is a lot more just very congenial, very like, hey, great to hear from you. Haven't heard from you in a while. It talks you through a lot of the same things you've been seeing corroborated in the other conversations. But he goes longer in talking to you about like what may have at one point been a point of contention, which is Emmett always wanted to be on Rhyolite forever, basically. Very like nose in the stone kind of guy. He keeps talking about like new opportunities available on Rhyolite that you might be interested in. Hey, he knows how you always really wanted to broaden your horizons and like have new things to work on and not doing the same thing every single day. And he talks about like, oh, there's, these new training seminars that are happening on planet. A lot of people are getting really into them. The people who work them are just real salt of the earth type people, really know what they're talking about. The next time you're in that sector, you should stop by Rhyolite to say hi. Maybe you can share a drink.
Interesting. I'm going to guess I'm not going to have time to respond to everyone. But I definitely will respond to Emmett saying, like, it's good to hear from you. I absolutely will stop by when opportunity presents itself.
When I'm not being chased by Corsac.
I don't mention that.
All right, but yeah, that's what you hear back from those messages you sent out, Evelene.
Interesting. Okay. There's nothing like... Are there any like names specifically mentioned, or is it just like... There are things happening type details?
It's very much, hey, there's these new, training opportunities on planet. A lot of people are like, what's the word? Are cross training to do multiple things. There's a lot of people who are like getting trained up as specialists now. Like things, the face of the planet is really changing from like everyone doing the same thing as each other to like people learning a lot of new stuff is the sense you get.
I guess the thing that I'm wondering about, and I don't expect an answer, is like, cool, you have this extra knowledge. What do you do with it? It sounds like Emmett wouldn't be speaking positively of this if it weren't for something that could be done on planet. So like, I'm like, okay, yeah, what is this training being used for?
That's a good question. He said stuff about like new opportunities, but didn't get into the specifics about it.
Okay. You know what? Actually, I just thought about this. Why don't I just ask? That's literally a thing I could do. I'll follow up also with saying that, like, okay, how are they using this training in a more positive spin, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can send out the next message. Is it more than that, or is it just that? Like, you said it's like mostly like, oh yeah, I'll stop by, blah blah blah, and you just like weave that in to the conversation, like,
Yeah, like, just casually, like,
what kind of opportunities? What does this training get you? Kind of questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like Emmett's the most forthcoming with information, so it'd be foolish not to work with that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. You send that message out to Emmett, and it'll take a few days to get there and a few days to get back.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right. Who's next?
I think it's I'm the only one left.
You're the only one left who has downtime action to do, but I'd still like to hear from everyone other things they're doing during this 3 days.
Well, I'll tell you what I was sort of thinking about downtime actions while everyone else was going.
Yeah.
So at first, I wanted to buy some time. Basically, I wanted to make sure that while we're doing our mission, that CORSEC doesn't. We buy enough time that CORSEC doesn't interfere or get on our backs or inform any of the other corps of what they know, at least until the mission's over. Now I'm not sure I want to do that anymore because I'm afraid of the downsides. If I roll 9 or less, I have to take a drastic measure, or whatever I'm trying to stave off catches up to me now. So I definitely don't want that to happen, and I'm afraid of like what happens if our situation becomes precarious or desperate. Like,
do it. You won't. Do it.
do it, you coward.
How we make interesting things happen.
I really want to roll a 20 plus. And I'm also trying to think how I want to go about doing this. Like, what's the means by which I can buy some time?
So for context, buy some time is you try to stave off a reckoning, extend a window of opportunity, or merely buy some time and breathing room for your group.
Yeah, it definitely is applicable in our current situation, I feel. At least we don't know exactly like when or how CORSEC will respond, but like what I'm looking for,
I don't think they're going to tell you ahead of time, unfortunately.
Exactly. What I'm looking for is if I can at least guarantee some assurance that we have the breathing room we need to do this mission and get out of Dodge before they react. Now, as to how to do that, that's the part I'm struggling with. One idea I had was to actually send a message to CORSEC somehow and say, we're aware that our faulty AI hacked into your servers, and we are going to turn it in to you for evidence. Something along those lines. Just to to open up communication first and see if that buys us a few days before they deem it necessary to take further action. Make
them have to think about it first.
Yeah. Thoughts, anyone?
I mean, you do you.
That sounds like a terrible idea, says Dyne.
If you told me, I tell you don't do it. Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
You have other options on the table too, Astro.
As far as buying some time or just in general?
For buying some time or getting connected, there are a couple of things you could do that would essentially, quote unquote, buy some time.
Yeah.
I mean, your definition of what a drastic measure taken right now is pretty flexible if we talk it through.
Sure.
So I don't know. It depends on how adventurous you want to be. Buying some time could even, be not the thing you just said. It could be you could buy time a lot of ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can think of some, but they're my ideas, so you can't have them.
Do we
no,
have
it's more
any...
like I can give you hints about them, but I don't want to play your character for you is more what it is.
Do we have any any connections with anyone at CORSEC? I'll ask around the crew.
We did.
Yeah,
Not
I know.
sure that he would want you to help. Or he would want. I mean, optionally, Astro, you could feed false information to Prismalo.
That's
I'm
actually
sure they're paying attention.
That's actually you read my mind. That's actually the other thing I was thinking of.
Because they're watching the communications, and if they were informed of the hack, then they're probably paying even more attention than previously.
Right. Yeah, that like we could lead them down the wrong path. We could somehow let Prismalo get their hands on information that we found out that we were exposed and we're leaving the system immediately or something.
I mean, don't forget, Artemis did say that she is fairly certain she knows where they are, so you can leverage that.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Keep in mind, everyone, that if you're ever having hard time fitting the thing you want to do into a downtime action, power at a cost is always an option, where you can just ensure you get the thing you want as long as you make it make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because all power to cost does is it says name what you want. You can definitely get it, but depending on the outlandishness of the request, i.e. make it make sense to me, the GM chooses one or two complications.
Yeah. And there's a list of them there.
A lot of bad ones for the situation you're in right now. So remember, you can always be, a little bit more, not get creative, the downtime action, but you can always be creative with the thing you're trying to do as a downtime action. It might just end up as a power at a cost. What are you willing to give to get?
Yeah. So what I'm sort of thinking of along the Prismalo, taking advantage of our knowledge of Prismalo, is maybe we leak information to them that we got caught hacking into CORSEC, and we're leaving the system. We could give like some sort of location of where our sanctuary will be. Basically feeding false intelligence that we're reacting to our cover being blown and we're leaving the system when we're actually not. So if CORSEC thinks that we are fleeing, they might look into that for a few days before they realize that we're still here.
All right, so let's frame it the whole way. So you want to feed information that you're basically going to be somewhere else, right?
Yes.
Through Prismalo.
Yes.
Back to CORSEC.
Yes.
To get them to fumble on their ability to get here quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
And what I'm thinking is, I send Prismalo a message saying something vaguely threatening, like, we know who you work for, or whatever. But I make it seem as if I unintentionally opened up a channel from which they can retrieve like our navigation info, or like as we're plotting courses and stuff like that. Like this information gets leaked onto that channel that I, quote unquote, unintentionally opened between them. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Right now, what you're describing sounds like buy some time to me.
Yep.
All right.
It is.
That's great. Then what do you want to roll for this?
I like how your plan is predicated on them being smart enough to do this when they failed in the missions horribly. The contest. My one concern here.
That's fair. So investigate, take control. I don't know if I actually have a skill trigger for this.
Let's look at you, Astro. Yeah.
Actually, can I make an argument for lead or inspire? Motivate a group of people into action. So I'm motivating them into taking an action.
No.
Using
Sorry,
like
bud.
the Dale Carnegie method of, saying like this actually works out great for you.
I'm sorry.
Keep talking. He might change his mind.
No. I read leader inspire. That's definitely not the intended purpose of this skill trigger.
Okay.
This is inspiring people that you like to do something efficiently or effectively, not fucking themselves over.
Okay, fair enough.
I will say, could me. No, charm is more smooth talking, not deceiving. Charm is not necessarily deceive.
Convince a receptive audience or use leverage, money, power, personal benefit to get your way.
Or, it does say or blatantly lie to someone.
It does say leverage, and we have leverage that they are working with CORSEC.
Or that you don't have leverage over.
I would argue a charm fits. I have to kind of prime them to accept this information. It's like social engineering a little bit.
Let me look at something here real quick, because I feel like perhaps no one has it, but we're missing something here. I think charm might be it, because I'm looking through all the skill triggers, and I don't see one that actually does this better. Where you're trying to specifically trick someone into doing a thing. I think charm might be the deception check we're looking for.
Okay. All right.
Just pretend they're a door.
Astro's charm. Let's see if it strikes again. Roll down. 18.
On 18. That's decent. So 4 and 18. If we're looking at buy some time, on a 10 through 19, you buy enough time. But the situation becomes precarious or desperate. Yes. The next time you get this result for the same situation, treat it as a 9 or less. Which means that
if I try to buy more time in the future, it's going to be harder.
Right. But it means that in addition to the first thing it said, which is the situation becomes precarious or desperate. You have now alerted Prismalo to your knowledge of them. No longer do they think they're sneaking up on someone unawares. They know that you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which means a different kind of tracking, right? You have bought yourself time. It is likely with this ruse that CORSEC will not interfere during this mission, but it might mean you have them right around the corner when you get out of this. Yeah. So this will be something, this is going to, you've kicked the can down the road successfully, but the can's mad about it.
Okay, that's pretty much the result I wanted.
Perfect.
More or less. Yeah. I knew we wouldn't stave off the inevitable. But at least we have some breathing room and we have some kind of assurance that we won't run into CORSEC complications during this mission.
That's great.
As far as like what I'm doing also during this time, what parts like of the station do we have access to? Like everything?
All of it. All of it,
okay.
as long as you have a reason to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like most of it, because like you can go to residential areas, you can go to commercial areas, like you know that the people the corporations brought in have their own recreational areas, like I explained with the LIT clinic. Like it's a lot of places that are built specifically for the people the corporations brought in that the people who live here normally couldn't possibly afford to go to. You know what I mean? Because all the jobs are gone, right? Like, so there are areas that you, as what appears to be a stoolie for the corpse, could afford to go and like spend time. You could also go into other places. I would say you're about to blow cover anyway, but if you weren't going to, I would warn you, hey, Doc Grosser's people might be watching you guys now.
Right.
This might lead down a path of them figuring out what you guys aren't on the level. But you're getting ready to blow that cover in 3 days anyway. So you probably just have freedom to go where you want. It's not going to make a huge difference unless you really pull an evil rabbit out of that hat.
I was thinking I wanted to the residential areas we were put up in during contests. Can I get to them?
You could, but as part of contests, they're kind of like decommissioned areas. People would be wondering why you went there.
Okay, it is fair enough. I was kind of curious about checking those out ever since contest. I I don't know why exactly. Just curious, like what like now that it's over, if anything's been done to the area or if they're taking things down.
That you can kind of find just by looking into it, and you're like, oh, they're basically decommissioned residential areas. Like they kicked everyone out, and they're not using them for anything.
Do they have plans to like demolish them or
No,
Yeah,
no
okay.
plans.
I don't think there's much more for me to discover without doing a new downtime investigate check. Or
Sure,
something
yeah,
like that.
absolutely. But
Other than
yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. Other than that, I think he's gonna take advantage of the time he has on the station, uh, hit up some of the restaurants and bars. Try to get a little R&R in before things get really stressful, and he knows that we're probably going to be on the run.
Okay.
So yeah, he's just sort of like taking in some of the recreation that
Cool.
the station has to offer.
I was wondering if one of you would leave the ship and go to the station.
Yep.
Astro, while you're, kind of just chilling, hanging out, relaxing, all cool, you're going between a few places and you're like, oh, okay, I just need to cut down this alley, to get to the other side of the road or whatever. As you do, a familiar figure steps out, not blocking your way, but in your way, with a shock of red hair and a big smile plastered on their face. Smiles steps up.
Oh my God.
Just a huge smile on their face. Astro, it's been so long.
I'll kind of startle, like jump a little, and I'll be, Smiles. Wow, I wasn't expecting to see you here.
Smiles leans up against the alley wall. Yeah, I just had the wanderlust, I just really wanted to see what's going on, and it seems like you wanted to take in the sights too.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a pretty expansive station here. There's a lot to see.
I bet. Anything that you particularly loved?
Oh, I don't know. Just, checking out the different restaurants, bars. I think there's a theater down this way I was going to check out. Nothing in particular. Oh, what about you?
Oh, I just love it all. It's so nice. And, I've gotten to see some things Let's not talk about it because I don't think you've been on those missions yet.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your team winning one of the contracts. How's it been so far?
He like pushes off of the wall and does an exaggerated bow, like sweeping one arm behind him and like going low and then picking his head back up, just a huge smile plastered on his face. Why, thank you. I try to be a gracious victor, but there's only so much you can do when you're as fabulous as I am.
Yeah, well, no argument there.
I'm glad you muddled through.
Me too. It was a little dicey there at the end, but I think things worked out to to a reasonable conclusion. All's well that ends well, right?
Yeah, if there is a thing I definitely agree with, it's that all's well that ends well. He looks at you wryly and with like a little smirk on the side of his mouth goes, I always like my happy endings.
I guess you're also a ends justify the means type of person too, then, right?
You read me like a book.
Well, I don't know about that. I still think you're quite the enigma to me. Very interesting.
I'm no
individual.
enigma. Why don't we get to know each other better? Let me treat you to dinner.
Okay. Sure.
You agree?
I do. I do. Yes.
All right. Smiles, just huge smile.
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Smiles with just a huge smile on his face. That's excellent. I can't wait. I know the perfect place. Now, it's not the fanciest place, but the ambience. He's going to take you there right now.
Okay. Color me curious. Yeah. Let's
takes
see.
you to a place that's on the border between like the new stuff that's been built since the corporate occupation and the older sectors of the station. It's not a completely rundown bar, but you can tell it's a little bit more of more handles locals than corporate people. He brings you in, and you can't tell if he's oblivious of it or is purposefully ignoring it. But when he walks in, the people in this place look at him with malice. He sweeps in to this little restaurant, hole-in-the-wall bar type place, walks up to the nearest person and goes, my friend, I'm back, and I've brought a dining companion. If you could please rustle me up a table, thank you.
While we're waiting for our table, I'll say, so you're a regular here, huh?
Oh, I've only been here twice before, but the people. Oh, I love the people.
Yeah, well, they seem to love you back.
He looks away from you at all the people kind of like glaring at him. And as he sweeps his vision towards them, none of them can meet his gaze. They all kind of like look away as he like focuses on them. And he turns back to you and goes, I have an effect on people. Big smile.
Yeah, I can see that.
The person eventually comes back over and is your table. And he points you just to an empty table. He doesn't take you there. He just points to a table that he's put 2 menus on. Thank you. He pats the man on his shoulder as he like walks past him and goes to the table.
I'll sit down at the table as well.
Service is non exemplary in any way. It's just like very humdrum. It's very people who don't really want you there but aren't going to make a fuss kind of situation. But Smiles, like, either is oblivious of the bad vibes or is reveling in them. You
Yeah.
can't tell because
But
the smile is plastered on his face the whole time. They get you drinks, they get you some food. It's very, like, not good fare. It's like not good in the sense of like not quality, but it's been made well. Like, Astro, you would perfectly be fine with this food. This is great, actually.
Right.
The restaurant is actually fine, perfectly great, but it's not like a 5-star restaurant or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like
yeah.
a place you would want to go to if you were a local. And Smiles, as you know, people very obviously intimidated by him, and you get in this sense more and more while you've been here, don't want to pay attention to him or look in his direction in any way. As people kind of like, he almost creates a bubble around himself where no one wants to approach him, you notice. All the tables near you are empty. All the people at the bar are looking away or involving themselves in their own conversation. And he leans across the table to you and he goes, "So, Astro, tell me, what do you make of all of this?"
All of what?
This
Station?
project.
Oh, well, I don't get paid to think, really. I'm just here trying to look out for my crew, make a little money, do our jobs. I leave the thinking to the higher ups.
He looks at you, his facial expression regarding you doesn't change, but he goes, "That's disappointing. I pegged you as someone who had higher aspirations or higher thoughts on all this kind of thing."
Well, sorry to disappoint. I guess I'm, there's less than meets the eye here.
I find that hard to believe, though, considering some of the rumors, of course.
Rumors?
Oh, you know the rumors, don't you? I'm sure you do.
Well, why don't you share some of them?
Oh, like you've secretly been working with the rebellion the whole time, that one of your crew members is a member. I heard that just the other day. I heard that you got in trouble recently. Someone's looking into you more closely. I seem to remember thinking that Doc Grocer was a little bit more interested in you than I would have thought of late.
Well, rumors are just rumors. Be careful. Be careful what you hear.
I love rumors. I love hearing the goss. Don't you hear any rumors, Astro?
From time to time, but it's hard to verify any of them. Most of them are just people talking shit.
Well, I've told you some rumors I heard about you. What of rumors you've heard about us?
Well, I don't know rumors per se, but most people are a little afraid of your outfit. Don't know what to make of you.
I see.
Many people think you have your own goals in mind outside of what they may be doing here at Project Rebirth.
And see, I thought you said that rumors were largely untrue, yet I'm only hearing truth cross your lips. Big smile.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Well, they are right. I do have other desires, and I think we've gotten what we needed from this little project. We might be moving on soon.
And where would you be moving on to?
Oh, here and there, flitting on the wind.
I see a very non-committal answer.
Are you looking for commitment?
I'm just curious, is all. After all, you said you love rumors, you love information. Maybe I want to get to know you a little bit better. Understand what makes you tick.
Well, to fuel the rumor bin, then, I'll tell you that now that we have what we need, I'm just looking for the last feather in my cap. And I wanted to see if you could be that feather. But you might be a little bit less ostentatious than what I wanted.
I'll take a drink and I'll say, well, I'm sorry to disappoint.
I wish you the best, Astro. I hope we see each other out there again. I'm glad I got to see you before we both take our leave of this place. Smiles at you knowingly.
Yes, I'm happy you feel that way.
Well, don't worry about the food. The tab's on me. I very much hope I don't see you on the field.
In that, I can agree.
As Smiles gets up from the table, and as he is walking by you, he slips something to you on the table.
Okay, I'll take a look at it after.
It's a UMD. It makes the distinctive plastic clunk of a UMD being pressed down on the table in front of you as he walks away.
Interesting. All right, I will pocket it.
All right.
Look at later.
And with that, we're going to pause here for this session, and we'll pick up next time with the final few steps of preparation and possibly the enacting of your plan to go down to the surface.
Cool.
All right.
Oh boy.
Well, thank you, everyone, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 So long. Farewell.